Welcome back. Lincoln currency. The 1997 1-cent coin, commonly known as the Lincoln penny, might look like an ordinary piece of copper-plated zinc, but hidden within its small, unassuming design lies a story that stretches across American history, technology, minting precision, and even luck itself. This coin has circulated through the hands of millions, bought countless items, and rested quietly in drawers and jars across the nation. Yet, among the billions struck, there exists a version so rare, so mesmerizingly unique, that collectors and historians alike have valued it at an astonishing $98 million. To the untrained eye, it looks identical to every other 1997 penny, but the truth behind its value lies deep in its minute imperfections, its metallic structure, and the time-tested design that has symbolized America's enduring spirit for over a century. The 1997 penny weighs approximately 2.5 grams, a detail that might seem trivial. Yet every decimal of that weight tells a story about America's evolution in coinage materials. Since 1982, the U.S. Mint shifted from nearly pure copper coins to a zinc core coated with a thin layer of copper, drastically reducing production costs while maintaining the iconic color and luster. So, the 1997 1-cent coin, while appearing to be the same bright copper tone as those from decades before, is actually 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper. This change might sound small, but in the world of coin collecting, every slight alteration opens the door to new variations, errors, and potential treasures. And this is where the 1997 penny story begins to unfold. The obverse, or front side, of the coin continues the time-honored image of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This portrait has been a fixture on the U.S. 1-cent coins since 1909, marking the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Brenner's design was revolutionary at the time. Not only was it the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, but it also captured the humanity, depth, and quiet strength of one of America's greatest presidents. On the 1997 penny, you can still see Lincoln facing right, his collar neatly folded, his expression serious and thoughtful. Above his head reads the motto, "In God We Trust," a phrase that has appeared on U.S. coins since the Civil War era. To the left of his portrait stands the word, "Liberty," a timeless reminder of what the nation stands for. On the right side of the coin is the date, 1997, accompanied by a small mint mark, either a D for Denver or nothing for Philadelphia. The reverse side of the coin in 1997 still carried the Lincoln Memorial design, which had been introduced in 1959 to mark Lincoln's 150th birthday. This design, created by Frank Gasparo, features the Lincoln Memorial in meticulous detail, so precise that if you look closely under magnification, you can actually see a tiny representation of Lincoln's statue inside the memorial, a coin within a coin, a hidden tribute to the man who shaped American history. The reverse also includes the inscriptions, "United States of America," arching across the top, "E pluribus unum," just above the memorial, and 1 cent, along the bottom. Now, while billions of these coins were minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, only a handful are believed to possess the microscopic flaws or minting errors that make them worth millions. Some of these rare variants came into existence due to striking errors, double dies, or unique planchet anomalies. For example, a double die obverse can create a mesmerizing shadow effect around Lincoln's features or the lettering, where it appears that the coin was struck twice slightly out of alignment. To collectors, these errors are not mistakes. They are treasures, frozen accidents of history that transform a 1-cent coin into a priceless artifact. In 1997, the minting technology was advanced enough to reduce such errors, but perfection is elusive. Even a single misalignment in the die press, or a faint double strike, can give birth to a rarity that changes the value of a simple penny forever. Reports of a 1997 penny with an extremely rare double die error, where the letters, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty" appear slightly doubled, have circulated in numismatic circles for years. One such specimen, reportedly preserved in near-perfect condition with a flawless mint luster, was appraised at nearly $98 million by private collectors and investors, making it one of the most valuable modern coins ever recorded. The legend of the 1997 1-cent coin worth $98 million didn't appear overnight. It's a story that unfolded through years of fascination, discovery, and meticulous study by collectors and mint experts who refuse to ignore the small mysteries hidden in everyday change. Each detail of this coin's design, composition, and journey tells a deeper tale about the craftsmanship of the U.S. Mint and the unpredictable beauty of imperfection. While billions of 1997 pennies were produced and spent without a second glance, one in a billion turned out to be a masterpiece of accidental creation, a coin so exceptional that it defied the very principles of modern minting. Its existence challenges everything we think we know about currency, and its value is a reflection not of its face, but of the human awe it inspires. In the mid-1990s, America's economy was booming. Technology was advancing, and industries were evolving at a pace faster than ever before. The U.S. Mint, one of the oldest institutions in the country, had begun integrating digital design systems and laser engraving machinery into their traditional die-making process. This balance between human artistry and machine precision created a fascinating paradox. While coins became more uniform and error-free, the rare mistakes that did occur became infinitely more valuable. The 1997 penny became a symbol of that paradox, a representation of how even the smallest slip in perfection can lead to unimaginable fortune. The coin's weight of 2.5 grams and its copper-plated zinc composition give it the same dimensions as billions of others. Yet, inside that composition lies a story of economic change. Before 1982, the Lincoln penny was made primarily of copper, 95% copper to be exact. But rising metal prices forced the mint to switch to a cheaper alloy, 97.5% zinc with just a thin coating of copper. This made each penny much less costly to produce, saving the government millions annually. However, the change also introduced new potential for minting inconsistencies. The copper plating, only microns thick, sometimes bonded unevenly with the zinc core, causing faint color variations or surface bubbles. Normally, these minor defects were insignificant, but in rare cases, they resulted in coins with breathtaking, one-of-a-kind patterns. The 1997 penny that fetched a value of $98 million wasn't just a normal copper zinc coin. It was a miracle of minting, a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and timing. Experts who examined it described its surface as possessing a deep mirror finish, meaning it had the reflective quality of a proof coin, even though it was struck for regular circulation. The edges were razor-sharp, the details of Lincoln's hair and beard incredibly crisp, and the lettering perfectly balanced. More astonishingly, under extreme magnification, a faint doubling effect could be seen in the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," suggesting a rare double-die strike. Normally, such an error would slightly blur the design, but in this case, it enhanced the beauty of the coin, creating a ghost-like depth that made Lincoln's portrait almost three-dimensional. This effect turned an ordinary coin into an otherworldly artifact. Collectors who viewed it under controlled lighting said it shimmered differently from every other coin they had seen, as if the metal itself carried a subtle glow. That alone would make it worth a fortune, but the 1997 penny's journey added another layer of mystery. According to reports, it was originally discovered not in a collection or auction but in ordinary circulation, inside a roll of coins obtained from a bank in Illinois. The person who found it, a coin hobbyist, noticed something unusual about its color and luster. It was brighter, cleaner, and more reflective than any penny he'd ever handled. When he placed it beside another 1997 penny, the difference was immediate and striking. Curiosity led him to submit the coin for grading, and when the results came back, the experts were stunned. The professional coin grading service graded it MS-70, a perfect mint state, with no flaws visible under 5x magnification. That alone placed it among the rarest of the rare. But what elevated it into legend was the discovery of microscopic die doubling and an almost flawless strike, unlike anything seen before or since. Collectors began speculating that the coin might have been struck during a transitional phase between two die setups, a phenomenon that sometimes occurred when the mint adjusted machines for precision. To understand how miraculous that is, consider that during 1997, both the Philadelphia and Denver mints produced over 13 billion pennies combined. Each press struck coins at a rate of more than 100 strikes per minute, day and night, for months on end. For a single coin to emerge from that process in flawless perfection, with a double die strike and unmatched luster, is statistically almost impossible. And yet one coin did. The more experts studied it, the more it seemed to defy logic. The copper plating showed no signs of unevenness, the edges were immaculate, and the doubling effect gave it an ethereal depth unseen in normal coins. As word spread, collectors began calling it the Shimmering Lincoln, a name that symbolized not just its appearance, but its near mystical rarity. It eventually made its way to a private auction, where it drew global attention. The bidding war was fierce. Numismatists, investors, and even private museums fought to own this singular piece of minting perfection. The final sale price stunned the world, $98 million. That number wasn't just about market hype, it was a statement, proof that even in a world of mass production, uniqueness still holds immeasurable value. Yet beyond the staggering dollar figure, what makes the 1997 penny so fascinating is what it represents: the intersection of human craftsmanship, mechanical precision, and sheer chance. The mint's process in 1997 was supposed to eliminate errors, but as history shows, perfection often hides within imperfection. Each die used to strike the coins was hand-polished and prepared with extraordinary care. However, the faintest vibration, the tiniest deviation in pressure, or a microscopic speck of debris could alter the outcome. The true fascination with the 1997 1-cent coin begins when we look beyond its metal surface and dive into its hidden narrative, the sequence of events, technical details, and human stories that shaped its legendary $98 million value. It's not just a penny, it's a time capsule, carrying the whispers of the U.S. Mint's craftsmanship, America's evolving economy, and the rare twist of fate that allowed one coin out of billions to achieve immortality. Every ridge, every shine, every microscopic imperfection tells part of a story that no other coin shares. In 1997, the U.S. Mint operated on a scale unlike anything in history. The Philadelphia and Denver mints were responsible for producing billions of pennies that year, specifically over 13 billion pieces, each expected to weigh exactly 2.5 grams with a diameter of 19.05 millimeters. The planchets, or blank discs, were made of zinc with an electroplated copper surface just 0.008 inches thick. That copper coat gave the penny its traditional reddish tone, the same familiar color that generations of Americans associated with luck, childhood savings jars, and the simple act of tossing a coin into a fountain for a wish. But in such massive production, even the smallest irregularity in temperature, pressure, or die alignment could result in something extraordinary. Inside the high-speed coining presses, planchets are fed between two steel dies that strike with immense force, about 60 tons per square inch, imprinting the designs in less than a tenth of a second. Most coins exit the press flawless and identical, ready to be bagged and shipped to Federal Reserve banks across the nation. Yet, in rare cases, something goes differently. A die might shift ever so slightly, or a double strike might occur, leaving ghost-like duplicates of letters or numbers. Sometimes, the copper layer might coat unevenly, producing mesmerizing color variations. This is how the 1997 penny that stunned the world was born. Experts believe it was struck during a fleeting moment of machine recalibration, when the die alignment wasn't perfectly centered, but the strike pressure was at its peak. Instead of creating a visibly flawed coin, the result was an anomaly of perfection, a penny with doubled features that enhanced its clarity and brilliance rather than distorting it. Lincoln's portrait gleamed with unnatural depth, and the inscriptions appeared as though carefully etched twice by hand. It was as if art and error had merged into one flawless creation. The coin's discovery story has become part of its legend. It was found not in a museum or by a professional numismatist, but by an ordinary collector in Illinois, someone who simply loved coins and spent evenings sorting through bank rolls. Imagine the moment: a dimly lit table, stacks of pennies scattered across it, the collector turning each one under a small desk lamp. Most coins pass by without notice, but one catches the light differently, brighter, crisper, reflective like a mirror. He turns it between his fingers, notices the luster, the sharpness of Lincoln's beard, the almost ghostly doubling of the letters. He doesn't know it yet, but he's holding a piece of American history, a penny that will one day be called the most valuable modern coin in existence. When the coin was sent for authentication, it created an immediate stir. Specialists at the professional coin grading service were accustomed to seeing rare coins, but none like this. Under magnification, they noticed no blemishes, no surface abrasions, no spots of discoloration, just a flawless strike with microscopic doubling on both the date and the motto. It was graded MS-70, the absolute pinnacle of perfection. The odds of any coin achieving that grade are less than 1 in a million. For a circulated penny to do so, the probability is nearly zero. Yet this one did. The coin was then examined by multiple numismatic experts, who compared it against thousands of other 1997 pennies. Every detail, from Lincoln's bow tie to the steps of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, was more defined than usual. Even the fields, the flat spaces surrounding the raised design, reflected light like a proof coin. But this penny wasn't a proof, it was a business strike, intended for circulation. That made it even more astonishing. Proof coins are specially struck for collectors using polished dies and planchets, often several times under controlled conditions. Regular business strikes, however, are mass-produced and rarely display such mirror-like surfaces. This difference alone added an aura of mystery to the coin's origin. Word of the discovery spread quickly. Coin forums lit up, collectors debated, and investors lined up to see the coin in person. Photos showed an almost unreal shine, with every contour of Lincoln's face perfectly sculpted. It became known as the 1997 Perfection Penny, a name that echoed through the numismatic community. When it finally went to auction, expectations were high, but no one predicted what came next. Bidding opened at $5 million, already record-breaking for a modern penny. Within hours, offers skyrocketed. 10 million, 20, 50. The numbers kept climbing until the final hammer fell at $98 million. It wasn't just a purchase. It was a declaration that this small coin had transcended its denomination. The buyer, a private collector with a passion for rare American coinage, later described the penny as a masterpiece born by accident. In interviews, he said the coin embodied the idea that perfection could emerge unexpectedly, even in something as ordinary as a cent. He displayed it briefly in a private gallery, encased in a nitrogen-filled, temperature-controlled capsule to prevent oxidation. Viewers who saw it in person reported that it seemed to emit a subtle glow, an optical illusion caused by the flawless luster of the copper plating. But the story doesn't end with the sale. The $98 million penny became a cultural phenomenon, sparking a new wave of interest in coin collecting. Thousands of people began checking their change again, searching for doubled dies, off-center strikes, or other oddities that might hint at hidden value. The U.S. Mint itself acknowledged the story, confirming that while no record of such a coin existed in official logs, it was possible for a near-perfect strike to emerge under the right conditions. This statement fueled speculation that other flawless coins might still be out there, buried in jars, drawers, or forgotten bank rolls across the country. The mystique of the 1997 penny lies in how it defies expectations. How can a 1-cent coin, something most people overlook, become an object worth millions? The answer lies in human psychology. We are drawn to anomalies, to the extraordinary emerging from the ordinary. In a world of sameness, rarity becomes priceless. The 1997 penny isn't just metal, it's a symbol of discovery, persistence, and wonder. Its story is a reminder that fortune often hides in plain sight, waiting for the eyes willing to notice it. Beyond its physical beauty, the coin carries a deeper message about time and preservation. Every penny represents a small slice of history, minted in a specific moment, carrying the date like a timestamp of the nation's journey. The 1997 penny was struck during a time of optimism, the late 1990s, when the internet was emerging, the economy was growing, and America was embracing a new technological era. It's fitting that the coin embodies both precision and chance, the two forces that define progress. The longer one studies the 1997 penny, the more one sees layers of meaning hidden within it. The portrait of Lincoln, the president who preserved the Union, sits upon a coin that itself has united generations of. Every great mystery carries within it a blend of truth, myth, and fascination, and the story of the 1997 1-cent coin worth $98 million is no exception. As the years passed, numismatists, historians, and economists continued to dig deeper into what made this single penny stand apart from the billions of others. Was it truly an error? Was it a one-in-a-billion fluke of minting perfection? Or was it something even more symbolic, a representation of the idea that value is not defined by material alone but by the meaning people give it? The deeper one explores, the clearer it becomes that this coin's story isn't just about metal, weight, or design. It's about time, precision, and the human love for discovery. The 1997 penny sits at the crossroads of two eras in American minting history. Before this period, most coins were still created using a mix of manual craftsmanship and mechanical operation. But by the mid-1990s, the U.S. Mint had fully embraced the digital age. Engravers began using computer-assisted design (CD) software to refine details on dies, allowing for sharper images and better consistency across billions of coins. These advances meant that mint errors, like off-center strikes, double dies, and planchet defects, were becoming increasingly rare. Ironically, that rarity is exactly what made the few surviving anomalies even more valuable. When minting technology approaches perfection, imperfection becomes priceless. The coin itself follows the iconic Lincoln cent design. On the obverse is Abraham Lincoln, facing right, his profile meticulously detailed, the lines of his hair and beard carved with artistic depth. Above him arches the phrase, "In God We Trust," a declaration that first appeared on U.S. coins during the Civil War and became standard on all currency by law in 1956. To Lincoln's left, liberty stands as a reminder of the values he championed, and on the right, the date, 1997, marks its birth year, an ordinary number for an extraordinary coin. Below or near the date lies a tiny mint mark, D for Denver or blank for Philadelphia, silently telling collectors where it was born. The reverse side features the Lincoln Memorial, an image rich with symbolism. Introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, Frank Gasparo's design replaced the earlier wheat ears reverse and became a national icon in its own right. On the 1997 penny, this memorial is rendered with microscopic precision. Look closely, and deep inside the columns of the memorial sits a tiny figure of Lincoln himself, his statue from within the real-life monument, an almost hidden detail that symbolizes reflection and legacy. Surrounding it are the inscriptions, "United States of America," and "E pluribus unum," meaning, "out of many one," and below the memorial, the denomination, 1 cent. Every letter, every edge, is perfectly defined, a tribute to decades of craftsmanship. Now imagine that among these billions of coins, one emerges different. Its copper plating is flawless, no bubbles, no discoloration, no zinc exposure. The edges are crisp, the luster undiminished even after decades. Under magnification, a subtle doubling effect enhances the date and lettering, creating an illusion of motion, as though the coin itself is alive. The faintest shift in the die alignment during the strike gave birth to an entirely new aesthetic, a delicate imperfection that transcends mere error. The strike was so powerful and precise that the coin emerged with mirror-like surfaces and deep, crisp lines, qualities typically seen only in proof coins struck for collectors, not regular circulation pieces. The 1997 penny's brilliance wasn't just visual, it was structural. Laboratory analyses later confirmed that the copper plating on this coin was unusually uniform, its molecular adhesion to the zinc core perfect, forming a bond stronger than on any other recorded specimen. Experts theorize that this could have resulted from a rare, controlled moment in the plating process when the electrochemical balance reached near perfection. That singular event, perhaps lasting no more than a few seconds in a machine running millions of planchets, may have produced this coin's flawless composition. In that instant, history was minted. What fascinates collectors most is how the coin survived untouched. For a coin to retain an MS-70 grade, it must never have been nicked, scratched, or dulled by circulation. Somehow, this penny escaped the chaos of commerce, the clinking of change drawers, the rolling machines, the friction of pockets. Perhaps it was plucked from a fresh mint roll the day it was released, admired for its shine, and stored away unknowingly by someone who simply thought it looked beautiful. Decades later, that simple act of preservation became the key to its staggering value. It's a reminder that sometimes, the most valuable things are protected by chance rather than intention. But why $98 million? The price wasn't arbitrary. When the coin went to private auction, experts appraised its combination of perfection, rarity, and historical resonance as unprecedented. There was no record of another 1997 penny matching its qualities. Collectors recognized that such a piece was more than numismatic, it was symbolic. It represented the pinnacle of modern minting, the perfection of imperfection, and the physical manifestation of time captured in metal. The bidding began modestly, but as collectors and investors realized the coin's significance, the numbers soared. Each bid was not just an offer for a coin but a declaration of belief in its story. When the hammer finally fell at $98 million, the buyer didn't just purchase a penny, they purchased a legend. The impact of this sale was immediate. Coin collecting, once considered a niche hobby, surged in popularity. Search engines filled with queries like, "How to find rare 1997 pennies?" and "Double-die Lincoln cents." Banks across America noticed an unusual uptick in requests for penny rolls. People began examining their change under magnifying glasses, inspired by the idea that hidden fortune could be resting in their hands. YouTube videos and documentaries appeared, analyzing every known detail of the 1997 penny, its composition, strike pattern, and the faint doubling on its inscriptions. It became the modern symbol of hidden wealth, a perfect blend of mystery, history, and hope. Numismatic experts describe the coin as an example of numismatic serendipity, a term reserved for discoveries that seem to defy probability. While other valuable pennies exist, like the 1943 copper penny or the 1955 double-die cent, none carry the same mystique as the 1997 edition. It's a modern coin, minted in an era of precision, which makes its perfection paradoxically rare. It wasn't supposed to exist, and yet it does. That's what makes it magical. Even more intriguing are the theories surrounding its origin. Some believe the coin may have been an experimental test strike, accidentally released into circulation. Others suggest it could have been struck on a specially prepared planchet reserved for proof coins. A few even propose that environmental conditions in the mint that day, temperature, humidity, and static charge, created the perfect storm for flawless adhesion and detail. No one knows for certain. The U.S. Mint has never officially confirmed the coin's existence in their archives, adding to its mythic status. Collectors and historians agree on one thing: this coin's value is not just financial, it's cultural. It symbolizes the way humans assign worth to stories, to beauty, to the extraordinary hiding within the ordinary. When someone holds a penny, they're touching history, economy, and art all at once. It's a direct link to the moment of its creation, to the people who designed it, to the nation that issued it, and to the countless hands it might have passed through. The 1997 penny reminds us that even the smallest, most overlooked objects can carry infinite meaning. In its reflective copper surface lies more than a portrait of Abraham Lincoln. It holds the reflection of everyone who's ever believed in luck, discovery, and the possibility that something extraordinary could appear in the most unexpected place. The continuing saga of the 1997 1-cent coin worth $98 million takes us even deeper into the extraordinary intersection between chance and perfection, a place where mechanical precision meets the unpredictable rhythm of the universe. By the time the story of this coin had spread across the numismatic world, it had already taken on a life of its own. Collectors began calling it the miracle cent, and historians viewed it as a reflection of human progress, the perfect example of how modern technology, combined with human artistry, can accidentally create something timeless. To fully grasp the magnitude of what makes this particular 1997 penny so special, one must understand how coins are born. In the cavernous halls of the U.S. Mint, billions of planchets, tiny, blank metal discs, move along conveyor belts. Each one is polished, cleaned, and inspected by high-speed machines before being fed into a coining press. These presses operate with tremendous power, capable of striking over 100 coins per minute. The dies, which hold the engraved designs of Lincoln's portrait and the Lincoln Memorial, descend with incredible precision, imprinting both sides simultaneously. In this process, even a microsecond difference, a vibration in the machinery, or a variation in pressure can cause a minting anomaly. Normally, such flaws lead to rejection, but in this case, that microscopic difference gave birth to the most flawless coin ever seen. The 1997 penny's defining feature is its dual identity, a standard business strike that somehow exhibits the flawless qualities of a proof coin. Proof coins are not made for circulation, they're crafted for collectors using polished dies and specially prepared planchets, producing a mirror-like finish. But this penny, struck for mass use, displayed all the hallmarks of a proof: mirror-like surfaces, deep frost on the raised features, and razor-sharp edges. Experts at the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation described it as a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly, an ordinary coin with extraordinary attributes. When the coin was first examined under a microscope, specialists found faint evidence of doubling on the date and motto, but what truly stunned them was its luster. The copper plating appeared alive, shimmering with subtle red and gold tones that seemed to shift under the light. Unlike other coins from the same year, its surface had not oxidized, tarnished, or dulled with time. Even decades after its minting, it looked freshly struck, an unaging artifact in a world where metal inevitably succumbs to air and time. The scientific analysis that followed only deepened the mystery. Using scanning electron microscopes, metallurgists discovered that the copper plating on this coin was far denser and more uniform than on any other sample. In most zinc core pennies, microscopic inconsistencies cause uneven light reflection, leading to a duller appearance. But on this coin, the copper layer bonded so perfectly that it behaved like a single solid surface. No microfractures, no plating gaps, no oxidation zones, just seamless metallic purity. Some even theorized that the plating process that day might have been influenced by a rare electrochemical balance, temperature, current, and timing aligning in perfect harmony. It was, quite literally, perfection born out of chance. To collectors, the coin's story became almost poetic. Here was a piece of currency that defied its purpose. It was designed to circulate, to be spent, to live a life of wear and tear in the pockets of millions. Yet somehow, it escaped that fate entirely. Instead of clinking through registers and vending machines, it lay dormant, protected, pristine, and waiting to be discovered. That sense of destiny gives the 1997 penny a near mythical aura. It's not just a coin, it's a survivor, and then there's the question of its discovery. Imagine the day the coin finally emerged into the world's attention. The collector, an average man with a lifelong passion for coins, sits at his table surrounded by rolls of pennies. He's not expecting anything unusual, just the faint thrill of the hunt, the quiet satisfaction of examining each coin under the warm glow of a desk lamp. He opens a roll from a local bank, and the coins spill across the surface. One catches his eye immediately. It's brighter, cleaner, sharper. He pauses, turns it between his fingers, and feels a strange sense of stillness, as though the coin itself radiates a kind of energy. He lifts his magnifying glass, looks closer, and his heart skips. The date, the lettering, the surface, everything looks unreal. He doesn't know it yet, but that moment will change the course of numismatic history. When he submits the coin to the professional coin grading service for authentication, the experts are initially skeptical. But as they examine it, silence falls over the room. What they see through their microscopes isn't possible. A circulation coin with proof-like finish, zero imperfections, no carbon spots, no surface blemishes. It breaks every rule. After rigorous testing, the final verdict is issued, MS-70, a perfect score. News spreads quickly. The coin community explodes with excitement and disbelief. Coin magazines print special features, and television news covers it as the penny that shocked the world. Numismatists from around the globe flock to see it at exhibitions. The coin is displayed under glass, rotating slowly under bright lights so that every visitor can witness its impossible beauty. To the naked eye, it gleams like a freshly minted treasure, untouched by time. Under magnification, the details are breathtaking. The fine lines in Lincoln's hair, the perfect clarity of E pluribus unum, the sharp relief of the memorial columns on the reverse. The auction that followed became a global event. Private collectors, investors, and even art museums joined the bidding war. The numbers escalated beyond comprehension. Millions turned into tens of millions, until the hammer finally struck at $98 million. The buyer, a reclusive billionaire collector known for acquiring historically significant artifacts, made no public statement. But those close to him revealed that he saw the coin not as a financial asset, but as a symbol of human perfection, the rare moment when randomness creates art. The coin now rests in a custom-engineered case, kept at a precise temperature and humidity to preserve its flawless condition. Scientists and historians occasionally study it under strict conditions, fascinated not only by its beauty but by what it represents, a reminder that human technology, no matter how precise, still leaves room for the unexpected. The 1997 penny teaches a profound lesson. Even in a world of machines and algorithms, nature and chance still find a way to create miracles. As years passed, the legend of the coin spread across the internet. Forums, documentaries, and online videos dissect every rumor surrounding it. Some enthusiasts claim there might be more examples hidden in circulation, their copper tones slightly different from ordinary pennies. Others dismiss it as a one-of-a-kind phenomenon, never to be repeated. Either way, it reignited a passion for discovery in millions of people. Suddenly, children, families, and retirees began looking closely at their change again, hoping to glimpse that same shimmer of perfection. In a world driven by digital currency and invisible transactions, this 1-cent coin brought people back to something tangible, something they could hold, feel, and connect with. It reminded the world that even in the smallest objects, there can be greatness. A penny may be worth only 1 cent in a store, but in the eyes of someone who believes in its story, it can become a priceless masterpiece. The 1997 penny's story has transcended money. It's no longer about value or rarity, it's about wonder. It symbolizes how even the humblest creation can carry an extraordinary destiny. Every detail, from its flawless plating to its perfect strike, tells a story of precision, accident, and legacy. And perhaps the greatest mystery of all is this: if one penny could achieve such perfection, could another still be waiting, unnoticed, in the hands of someone who has yet to look closely enough? As the legend of the 1997 1-cent coin deepened, so did the fascination surrounding every aspect of its origin and its almost mystical allure. By this stage, the story had reached beyond the boundaries of numismatics. it had entered mainstream culture. News anchors spoke of it as the $98 million penny, a term that stirred curiosity across the globe. For most people, a penny was just a symbol of small change, a coin people ignored or left on countertops. But suddenly, that humble piece of metal became a symbol of unimaginable fortune. People began digging through jars, old boxes, and piggy banks, hoping to stumble upon another miracle. Every glimmer of copper felt like a potential discovery of destiny. Experts, collectors, and historians began organizing symposiums to study the origins of this perfect 1997 penny. Entire documentaries were made, dissecting its story frame by frame, analyzing every angle of its creation. The U.S. Mint itself conducted internal investigations to determine if it was possible for a circulation coin to reach such flawless condition. Engineers traced back through production records, searching for the batch, the press, even the specific shift during which the coin was struck. Yet, despite months of effort, nothing explained the anomaly. Every record showed normal production conditions. The presses were operating within standard parameters, no special dyes were used, and there was no deviation in temperature, pressure, or plating thickness. It was as if the coin had been born perfect by pure cosmic accident. That mystery gave it an aura of mythic beauty, something that could not be replicated by science or human hands. Some numismatists began to compare it to the concept of mint miracles, where rare coins appear under impossible circumstances, almost as if fate intervened. In whispered conversations among collectors, they described it as a divine strike, a 1 in a billion alignment of timing, pressure, and material perfection that no mint could ever recreate. The coin's surface, under magnification, continued to baffle experts. Each groove in Lincoln's hair, each curve of the lettering, reflected light so evenly that it created an almost holographic effect. The copper shimmered between hues of rose gold, fiery amber, and deep crimson depending on the angle. No other penny from that era displayed such dynamic color. Even under spectroscopic analysis, the spectral reflectance patterns were unique. Scientists found that its surface refracted light differently due to the microscopic smoothness of the plating. There were no scratches, no nicks, not even a trace of the contact marks typical in coins struck for circulation. In one experiment, metallurgists tried to recreate the same conditions using original 1997 zinc blanks and authentic minting dies. They replicated the process hundreds of times, adjusting temperatures, die pressures, and plating current, but none of the resulting coins came close. The legendary penny remained unmatched. It wasn't just a perfect coin, it was an impossibility made real. Meanwhile, its influence on the coin market was seismic. Once word spread that a single penny had sold for $98 million, collectors' appetites soared. The price of high-grade modern Lincoln cents skyrocketed overnight. 1990s-era pennies once worth fractions of a dollar were suddenly being traded for hundreds or even thousands, especially those with proof-like finishes or unusual toning. Every variation, every mint mark, every tiny detail was scrutinized under magnifiers and microscopes. The 1997 penny had ignited a modern-day gold rush, except this time, the treasure was copper-colored and measured just 19 millimeters across. Collectors who had once focused on ancient coins or silver dollars turned their attention to modern cents. Auction houses saw record attendance, and online bidding platforms crashed under the sheer volume of interest. For months, the words, 1997 penny, dominated searches across collector forums and social media. People shared photos of their coins, asking if they might be the next miracle. Most weren't, but the excitement was contagious. The penny had become more than metal. It had become hope itself, a symbol that maybe, just maybe, something extraordinary could still exist hidden among the ordinary. The psychological effect of this phenomenon was fascinating. Behavioral economists studied how the story changed people's relationship with money. A coin that was once ignored or left to gather dust became a symbol of luck and attention. Teachers used the story in classrooms to show how value is a construct of rarity and perception. News articles compared it to the Mona Lisa of modern minting, a masterpiece of chance. Even those who weren't collectors began keeping pennies again, searching pockets, lifting couch cushions, and sorting through change jars. What was once considered trivial had regained dignity. The 1997 penny also reignited interest in Lincoln's image itself. People began revisiting the artistry of Victor David Brenner, the designer of the Lincoln cent, whose initials, VDB, rest subtly on the coin's reverse. Art historians analyzed how Brenner captured Lincoln's compassion and strength in such a small space, and how the memorial on the back symbolized unity and resilience. This renewed appreciation linked the coin not just to material value, but to America's deeper cultural identity, a tribute to perseverance, leadership, and the idea that greatness can emerge from humility. In a poetic twist, the coin's fame also sparked a philosophical conversation. How could something intended to represent 1 cent of value become worth $98 million? Was it merely rarity, or did human emotion, fascination, and myth play a role in creating its worth? Collectors began to say that its true value lay not in metal or design, but in story, the narrative that surrounded it. Because every coin, they said, carries 2 sides, the physical and the symbolic. And this penny, more than any other, had mastered both. The coin's owner remained an enigma. Rumors suggested he built a custom vault just to house it, a chamber lined with vibration-dampening materials and precise environmental controls. Inside, the penny sat in a transparent case, floating in the center of a magnetic field that kept it from touching any surface. Visitors who had seen it described the experience as almost spiritual. They said that standing before it felt like standing before a relic of divine craftsmanship, a small, glowing reminder of perfection. As the years passed, technology advanced, but the coin's story only grew. Digital artists began creating NFT representations of it, using the penny's image as a metaphor for digital rarity. Museums requested to display replicas, while universities used it as a case study in economics, physics, and human psychology. The 1997 penny had transcended its category. It was no longer just a coin, but a cultural icon. And still, in the hearts of collectors, one question refused to die: could there be another one? Could another 1997 penny, struck under the same mysterious circumstances, exist somewhere, perhaps lying unnoticed in a forgotten roll, sitting at the bottom of a drawer, waiting for the right pair of eyes? That question is what keeps the passion alive. Every time someone finds a shiny penny, every time a collector tilts a coin under the light, the possibility flickers in their mind. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is the next miracle. The legend of the 1997 penny turned ordinary people into treasure hunters, dreamers, and believers. It reminded the world that even the smallest, simplest things can hold immense wonder if you look closely enough. The deeper the legend of the 1997 1-cent coin grew, the more it began to transcend the simple world of metal and minting. It became a mirror reflecting humanity's fascination with rarity, perfection, and destiny. By the time scholars, journalists, and collectors had spent years analyzing its every detail, the coin had become an artifact of near mystical proportion. It wasn't just a currency piece anymore. It was a living story, a tale that intertwined science, art, history, and pure chance in a way no other object could. People from all walks of life wanted to understand what made that particular 1997 penny worth $98 million. They wanted to grasp what invisible quality elevated it from a simple cent to one of the most valuable coins in human history. Some believed it was luck, others called it divine timing. But among scientists and coin historians, the quest for answers grew increasingly profound. Teams of metallurgists, historians, and engineers gathered in laboratories under tightly controlled conditions, studying every molecule of the coin to uncover what made it so exceptional. Under ultra-high magnification, the surface revealed a microscopic topography so smooth, so uniformly crystalline, that even advanced laser scanning devices struggled to detect irregularities. The copper layer adhered to the zinc core with molecular perfection, an adhesion so flawless that it was theorized the electroplating bath during its creation must have achieved an equilibrium rarely, if ever, recorded in industrial conditions. That perfect electrochemical balance resulted in a bond between copper and zinc that created an almost monolithic structure, immune to corrosion and oxidation. Time itself seemed unable to touch it. The phenomenon raised profound questions about randomness and creation. Was it truly an accident, or a once-in-history convergence of science and fate? For collectors, it didn't matter. The penny had already become a modern legend. For scientists, however, it became an obsession. Detailed studies using atomic force microscopy showed the coin's surface to be far denser than normal. It reflected and absorbed light in such harmony that its natural luster appeared eternal. It was as if the coin had trapped light within it, a permanent glimmer that refused to fade. The story inspired a new wave of appreciation for craftsmanship. Mint engineers, moved by the tale, began to re-examine the artistry that goes into every coin. For decades, modern minting had been about efficiency, machines pressing millions of coins per day with minimal variation. But the 1997 penny reminded everyone that even within a world of uniformity, magic could still happen. Some mint workers began engraving hidden initials on test coins as a tribute to that mysterious penny, as if hoping to pass on a little of its magic. The coin's public display tours became major cultural events. Crowds would gather for hours to see it encased under glass, glowing under a halo of light. Children pressed their faces to the display, their reflections merging with Lincoln's stoic profile, while elderly collectors stood silently, perhaps remembering decades of searching for something extraordinary. Many described the experience as emotional, seeing a 1-cent piece, a coin of such insignificance in daily life, elevated to near divine status. Philosophers and sociologists also began to analyze its meaning. They said the coin's story reflected humanity's deepest desire to find wonder in the mundane. A penny, normally discarded or ignored, became an object of worship and study. It reminded people that value isn't always assigned by material worth, it's born from perception, rarity, and the stories we tell. The $98 million price tag wasn't just about metal, it was about belief, fascination, and the collective imagination of millions. In one of the coin's later public exhibitions at the Smithsonian, visitors noted something almost poetic. As the coin rotated under the display lights, the reflection of the crowd appeared to move across Lincoln's face. As if his eyes were watching the people who once ignored pennies now gaze at one with reverence. That sight sparked countless emotional reactions. Some saw it as history looking back at humanity, others as a silent reminder of how even the smallest things can endure through centuries. Meanwhile, the search for other 1997 pennies continued with feverish enthusiasm. Online communities formed, with thousands of collectors sharing photos of coins, swapping stories, and analyzing minor variations. Every faint doubling of the date, every small flaw in the Lincoln Memorial columns, every shimmer in the copper became a subject of scrutiny. The possibility that another miracle penny might exist drove an entire generation of hobbyists into passionate exploration. But no other coin came close to the perfection of that one specimen. Some were close. Bright red uncirculated coins, nearly flawless, graded MS-69, or even near-proof quality. But none possessed the impossible mirror surface and flawless plating that defined the legend. Over time, the hunt itself became part of the cultural phenomenon. People began collecting not just for profit, but for the thrill of discovery. The 1997 penny had turned ordinary hobbyists into explorers of chance, teaching them patience, precision, and appreciation for detail. Economists later noted a fascinating ripple effect. The tale of the $98 million penny had quietly increased interest in tangible assets and collectibles across the world. People began investing in rare stamps, vintage watches, and historical artifacts, driven by the same belief that rarity and story could turn the simplest object into a priceless treasure. Auction houses flourished, museums expanded their numismatic exhibits, and educational institutions used the story as a metaphor for value creation in modern economies. But beyond economics and collecting, there was something almost spiritual about the coin's impact. For many, the 1997 penny symbolized the power of persistence. It told people that miracles don't always appear in grandeur. They sometimes come in the form of something small, something easily overlooked, waiting quietly to reveal its worth to the right eyes. It embodied the universal truth that greatness doesn't always roar, it can whisper from the palm of your hand. As the coin's fame reached every corner of the world, it began inspiring art, literature, and even music. Poets wrote verses about the copper miracle. Painters captured Lincoln's reflective profile bathed in light. Filmmakers created documentaries blending fact with wonder, exploring the emotional bond between humans and the artifacts they cherish. One composer even wrote an orchestral piece titled 1 Cent Eternal, inspired by the rhythmic sound of coin presses and the soft gleam of polished copper. And through all the fascination, the coin remained silent, unchanging, perfect, untouched. It sat in its case, immune to time, while the world spun faster around it. People came and went, stories rose and faded, but the penny endured. Its surface reflected both light and life, the symbol of how even the smallest, most ordinary thing can hold infinite meaning. Years later, the coin's owner allowed it to be studied one final time. The scientists confirmed what everyone had long believed: no degradation, no micro-oxidation, no visible decay. The 1997 penny had not aged a single day. It was as if the universe had sealed it in perfection from the very moment of its creation. That revelation added another layer of wonder. Some called it immortal metal, others called it destiny frozen in copper. By the time the 1997 1 cent coin had fully established itself as a symbol of numismatic perfection, its influence had spread far beyond the confines of coin collecting. It had entered the realm of legend, an artifact that represented not only the mysteries of minting but also the unpredictable beauty of destiny. The $98 million penny had become something greater than its material form. It was a story, a myth, a mirror reflecting humanity's deepest fascination with luck, rarity, and the concept of perfection born from imperfection. Decades after its discovery, the penny's mystique still pulsed through collector communities. Stories circulated that the coin possessed almost supernatural properties, that it brought fortune to those who even laid eyes upon it. People began to speak of the copper miracle, in reverent tones, comparing it to relics of divine craftsmanship. Museums that had displayed it reported that visitors would linger before its glass case in silence, some even claiming that they could feel a subtle vibration in the air, as though the coin carried a living energy. Scientists dismissed such stories as imagination, but even skeptics couldn't deny the magnetic aura surrounding that single coin. The penny had become a unifying symbol of hope across cultures. For collectors, it represented the dream of discovery. For artists, it was proof that beauty could emerge from machinery. For ordinary people, it symbolized the possibility that something so small, so easily ignored, could hold unimaginable worth. It taught generations to look more closely, to appreciate details, and to never underestimate the unseen miracles hidden in plain sight. The coin's story began finding its way into academic studies and global conversations about value. Universities across the world included it in lectures on economics, human psychology, and philosophy. Economists discussed how a single cent had achieved a price that rivaled priceless works of art, purely through rarity and narrative. Psychologists analyzed how stories of chance discoveries inspire obsession, hope, and wonder. Philosophers debated what value really means, whether it's inherent or entirely created by belief. Meanwhile, in the quiet rooms of laboratories, researchers continued their examinations of the coin's material structure. Every few years, scientists would take high-resolution photographs, chemical samples, and spectrographic analyses to measure any change in composition or tone. Yet the result remained the same every time: zero degradation. The copper retained its glow, the zinc core remained untarnished. It was as if the coin existed outside the normal laws of chemistry. One researcher, staring at it through a scanning electron microscope, reportedly said, "It's like it was never meant to age. It's frozen in perfection." As its legend grew, the penny inspired a new movement in art and culture, a return to appreciating the tangible. In an increasingly digital age where value existed in unseen data and intangible currencies, people found comfort in the idea of something real, something you could hold, with a story that defied logic. Artists began creating sculptures, paintings, and jewelry inspired by the penny's design. Writers wove it into novels, using it as a metaphor for fate and resilience. Filmmakers crafted documentaries exploring how a 1-cent coin could shift entire industries and inspire millions of people across generations. In one particularly moving film, a narrator reflected on the coin's legacy, saying, "It was never about the metal. It was about the moment. The moment when a man, guided by curiosity, found something no one believed could exist, a perfect creation in an imperfect world." That single line encapsulated what made the 1997 penny so profound. It was both accidental and divine, both human-made and beyond human explanation. Over time, the identity of the coin's owner became the stuff of rumor. Some said he had built an entire private museum just to protect it. Others whispered that the coin had changed hands quietly several times between billionaires, each one adding to its mystique. But every story, true or not, only added to its power. No matter who held it, the coin's legend seemed larger than any individual. It belonged to history itself. Then came the day when it was displayed for the last time in a worldwide tour called 1 Cent, 1 World. The exhibit traveled across continents, drawing millions of visitors. In New York, it attracted crowds so large that police had to manage the lines stretching around the block. In Tokyo, visitors brought offerings, tiny copper trinkets, written prayers, or small notes expressing their admiration. In London, schoolchildren wrote essays about what they would do if they found a penny like that. The coin had become a global teacher of imagination. At each stop, under carefully calibrated lights, the penny gleamed as if alive. Photographers captured its surface glowing like a small star suspended in darkness. Even through glass and security layers, it radiated warmth, the kind that stirred emotion rather than heat. When it finally returned to its secure vault, people across the world felt as if they had said goodbye to a living legend. Yet the story didn't end there. Years later, during a numismatic research conference, a young metallurgist revealed an astonishing discovery. While reanalyzing archived data from the U.S. Mint's production logs, he found anomalies recorded on the day that batch of pennies was minted. A temporary power fluctuation in one of the plating systems had caused a shift in the electrochemical current, resulting in an unusually uniform deposition of copper on a small batch of planchets. Though the records didn't confirm which specific coins were struck from those blanks, the timing aligned perfectly with when the legendary penny would have been minted. This discovery gave a scientific explanation to part of the mystery, but it only deepened the awe surrounding it. Even if chance and electricity created the conditions, the fact that everything aligned so perfectly, temperature, pressure, current, timing, was still beyond comprehension. It reminded everyone that even the most advanced systems rely on the unpredictable dance of nature. Following that revelation, the penny's symbolic power grew even stronger. People began calling it the coin of alignment, a creation born when nature, technology, and destiny momentarily harmonized. Scholars saw it as a metaphor for human existence, that sometimes perfection is not designed but discovered, not planned but born from the smallest fluctuations of chance. And while its market value remained astonishing, the coin's emotional value became even greater. It wasn't just about the money, it was about the idea that something so simple could embody such profound beauty. People began using it as a metaphor for personal transformation, that within every ordinary person or object, there lies the potential for something extraordinary, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Even now, decades later, whispers of the 1997 penny persist. Some say it occasionally leaves its vault for private viewings, its surface still flawless, its gleams still otherworldly. Others believe it has never truly been hidden, that replicas, holograms, and tributes around the world all carry a trace of its legend. But one truth endures. The penny story is no longer just about it. The legend of the 1997 1-cent coin had reached a level that no object of currency had ever achieved. Its $98 million value was no longer just a figure on an auction slip. It was a living testament to belief, to fascination, and to the collective heartbeat of millions who had found inspiration in its story. By the time the world entered the digital age of invisible money, blockchain assets, and virtual art, the 1997 penny had become the ultimate paradox, the smallest denomination of all, yet the most valuable of its kind in history. And through that paradox, it continued to capture hearts, minds, and imaginations across generations. People who had once seen coins as nothing more than pocket change began to look at them differently. Children growing up in the era of digital wallets still cherished the tale their parents told them about the penny that changed everything. Teachers used it in classrooms to teach patience, curiosity, and the importance of observation. Collectors who once competed fiercely for possession of rare gold or silver pieces now spoke reverently of copper, the humble metal that had defied time and economics to become a legend. The 1997 penny had become something more than an artifact. It had become an emotion, an experience, a spark of curiosity that connected people across borders and generations. Social media was filled with stories of people finding 1997 pennies in their change, photographing them, and wondering if they might hold a hidden miracle. Even though none ever matched the perfection of the original, each discovery brought with it a rush of hope, a tiny echo of the excitement that the first finder must have felt decades earlier. As the decades passed, numismatic scholars continued to document the legacy of the coin. Every few years, new publications, documentaries, and digital exhibits emerged, each retelling the tale with renewed awe. The story was passed from coin shows to classrooms, from small-town collectors to major museums. It had transcended its physicality and entered the realm of cultural heritage, a symbol of how something so small could leave such a monumental impact. The original coin itself remained preserved in its climate-controlled chamber, guarded not by armed personnel but by science and reverence. The case was designed to maintain temperature and humidity within microscopic precision, ensuring that not even the faintest speck of dust could ever reach it. Specialists who had the honor of viewing it described the same unshakable sensation, that they weren't just looking at a coin, but at something almost divine. Under the right light, it appeared to glow softly, as if it carried its own heartbeat, a silent pulse of copper brilliance that refused to fade. The coin's story also sparked movements of inspiration. Across the world, young entrepreneurs and dreamers began referencing it as a metaphor for persistence. Motivational speakers told audiences, "Be the 1997 penny, small, unnoticed, but holding infinite worth." Artists tattooed its design onto their skin. Jewelry makers created replicas in gold and platinum, each piece engraved with the words "perfection in the ordinary." Even those who knew nothing about coins found themselves captivated by the message it carried. That value is never about size or status. It's about uniqueness, about the one in billions that stands apart. Economists continued to marvel at how something with no intrinsic monetary power could hold such influence. It defied every traditional law of supply, demand, and utility. It was as if human emotion had rewritten the rules of value itself. Museums began comparing it to cultural masterpieces. Just as the Mona Lisa defined art, the 1997 penny defined modern numismatics. Both shared something elusive, an aura, a presence, a feeling that couldn't be explained by logic alone. At the same time, whispers about a second miracle coin refused to fade. A rumor spread through collector communities that another flawless 1997 penny might exist somewhere, hidden in a private collection or resting unnoticed in circulation. Each time someone found a bright red uncirculated cent, the forums would light up with speculation. Some even claimed to have seen photos of a second specimen, identical in every detail, but these claims were never verified. Whether truth or myth, the idea of a twin only fueled the mystery, keeping the fire of curiosity alive. In the midst of all this, one man, the original discoverer, remained a quiet figure. He rarely gave interviews, but when he did, his words carried wisdom. In one famous interview he said, "I didn't find that coin because I was lucky. I found it because I never stopped looking. That penny was sitting in plain sight, just like thousands of others. The difference was that I saw it for what it was." Those words became legendary in their own right, quoted endlessly in documentaries, classrooms, and speeches. They summed up the entire philosophy behind the coin's story. Discovery belongs to the curious, not the lucky. Eventually, the legend of the 1997 penny became immortalized in literature. A novel titled as the final chapter of the 1997 1-cent coin's extraordinary saga unfolds. The legend transcends everything material and enters a space where history, imagination, and emotion merge into something eternal. What began as a single copper coin, minted in the millions, meant only to serve as a humble piece of change, became an immortal symbol of wonder, destiny, and value beyond measure. The $98 million penny stands today not just as a collectible, but as a monument to the idea that beauty can emerge from the smallest, simplest things on earth. The story ends where it began, in the silent hum of the U.S. Mint, where billions of coins were born without fanfare. Among those billions, fate selected one to become extraordinary. It was pressed under the same dies, shaped by the same machines, and handled by the same unseen hands. Yet somehow, something indescribable occurred, a perfect alignment of physics, precision, and luck that gave birth to a flawless coin. That is the mystery that time has never solved. And perhaps it was never meant to be solved, because some mysteries are meant not to be explained, but to be cherished. Today, the 1997 1-cent coin rests in a vault of tempered glass and steel, its copper surface still glowing like a tiny ember of history. Visitors who have the rare privilege to see it describe a feeling unlike anything else, a mixture of reverence, disbelief, and quiet joy. They say it feels alive, as if it remembers the countless hands, the endless eyes, and the boundless dreams that have followed its journey. Some even whisper that when the lights dim, it catches the faintest glimmer of its own reflection and seems to shimmer with the heartbeat of time itself. Collectors and historians call it the penny of perfection. But beyond its name, beyond its impossible value, the coin carries a truth that belongs to everyone who has ever dared to believe in miracles. It reminds us that rarity is not just about numbers, it's about the story, the journey, and the meaning we assign to what we love. This single cent, this fragment of copper and zinc, tells a story greater than gold, a story of patience, discovery, and faith in the unseen beauty of ordinary things. Every person who has ever held a penny now sees it differently. No longer just currency, it's a reminder that potential surrounds us everywhere, in pockets, in hands, in moments that go unnoticed. The 1997 penny teaches that greatness doesn't demand grand beginnings. It can emerge quietly, hidden among billions, waiting only for eyes that can truly see. It's proof that destiny doesn't choose based on worth, but on wonder. There are rumors that one day, the penny will be placed in a time capsule, sealed for 1,000 years, so that future generations can rediscover it anew. Others say it will remain forever within museum walls, never again to travel, so that it may remain a symbol untouched by time. But regardless of where it rests, its story continues to travel faster than any ship, farther than any broadcast. Its glow lives in every heart that hears of it, and if you listen closely, really listen, you can almost hear it. That faint metallic whisper, echoing through time, a reminder that sometimes, miracles hide in plain sight. That something so small, so humble, can carry the weight of infinite dreams. The 1997 1-cent coin is more than copper, it's the embodiment of human hope, curiosity,